The envelope landed on Jae Baekho's desk at 11:47 p.m. No name, no return address, just a black and white photograph of him, taken from a distance, outside his mother's house, the one address that did not exist in any public record. His jaw tightened. He turned the photo once in his fingers, then set it down slowly, as if any sudden movement might change the meaning of it. Ryan stood in the doorway, silent until Jae spoke. "Where did it come from?" "We traced the drop point. Itaewon," Ryan said. A street camera caught the courier. He left a second photograph at the same time. He walked forward and placed it on the desk. A woman, natural hair pulled back, press badge clipped to her jacket, walking away from the drop with the kind of calm that made her look more dangerous than frightened. Jae stared at her face for a long time. This was not the face of someone begging to survive. This was the face of someone who had decided survival was no longer the point. "Who is she?" he asked. "Name on the badge says Aaliyah Johnson. Global Investigative Press. Foreign press, by the looks of it." Jae leaned back in his chair. "She's been watching us." "Yes," Ryan said. 11 days. Maybe more." Jae's expression did not change, but something in the room hardened. "Bring her to me." Ryan hesitated. "She's a journalist. If she disappears, the attention." "I said bring her to me." Nobody sent Jae Baekho a message. Nobody handed him threats wrapped in photographs. Nobody entered his world with enough nerve to stare at him from a distance and survive the decision. He wanted to know what kind of woman did that, and why. They found Aaliyah in a small jigigi restaurant in Mapo, sitting alone, notebook open beside her bowl, eating slowly, as if she had all the time in the world. When the door opened and 6 men in dark coats entered, she looked up once. Then she closed her notebook with a quiet, deliberate click. She did not run. She did not reach for her phone. She simply looked at them, one by one, and said, "I wondered how long that would take." Ryan blinked. In all the years he had worked for Jae, nobody had ever spoken like that in the face of danger. They took her without force, not because she trusted them, because she had chosen not to fight. Yet, the car drove through Seoul in complete silence. Aaliyah sat in the back with her hands folded lightly in her lap. Her eyes moved over the city as if she were memorizing street names, intersections, exits. Ryan watched her in the mirror. She was not afraid in any ordinary way. She was alert. There was a difference. The Baekho compound in Yongsan rose from the darkness like a place that should not exist at all. Officially, it was not on any city registry. Unofficially, everybody in Seoul knew not to ask questions about it. Aaliyah stepped inside without hesitation. Her gaze moved over the hallways, the guards, the lights, building a map of the entire building in her mind. Jae was standing at the window when she was brought into the room. The city stretched out below him in cold glass and silver light. The Han River beyond, black and slow. He kept his back to her for a full minute. Then he turned. Aaliyah was younger than he expected. Late 20s, maybe. Black and Korean, with the kind of face that held two worlds without apology. Her press badge read Aaliyah Johnson, Global Investigative Press. She wore it like armor. Jae studied her carefully. Aaliyah studied him back. "Sit down," he said. "I'm fine standing." The 2 men flanking her stiffened. Jae raised one finger. They stepped back. He looked at her as if he were reading a report written in a language he already understood too well. "You've been photographing my operations for 11 days, he said. "The Itaewon transfer, the Mapo Bridge meeting, the Incheon container yard, my mother's house." Something changed in her expression at the last line. "Not Faye. Something more precise." "I have." "Why?" "Because someone needs to." The room went still. In Jae's world, most people who answered him that way did not finish the sentence. But Aaliyah did not look away. "That is usually the last thing people say before they die," he said. "I know," she replied. "That's why I sent you the photograph first. Before you knew I existed. Before you could decide what I was worth based on Faye." That was when Jae realized she had not come into his world by accident. She had come into it with intent. "You wanted me curious," he said. "I wanted you to bring me here yourself, instead of sending someone to make me disappear quietly." Ryan looked at Jae. The question in his eyes was simple. Eliminate the problem. All listen. Jae ignored him. "You're a journalist," he said. "You have nothing I want. Aaliyah reached into her jacket slowly and placed a USB drive on the desk between them. 3 weeks ago, she said, someone inside your organization tried to sell your entire financial network to Jeongpa names. Roots, shell companies, offshore accounts, everything. She nodded toward the driver. I intercepted it. All of it is on there. Jae did not touch it. Why would you give that to me? Because the person who tried to sell it is still inside your organization. He watched her carefully. She was not done. And because I need something from you. There it was. The real reason. Jae picked up the USB drive, turned it once in his fingers, and looked at her again. What do you need? Aaliyah's jaw tightened. For the first time. My mother disappeared in Seoul 10 years ago, she said. She was a journalist too. Her name was Imani Carter. She was investigating the Baekho family when she vanished. The air in the room changed. Jae's face did not move. Not a muscle. But his hand closed slowly around the USB drive. Her name, he said. Aaliyah held his gaze. Imani Carter. Black American. She came to Seoul to expose what the Baekho family was doing to women in this city. She sent me one last message from Seoul. Then nothing. 10 years ago, Jae repeated. The words landed like a stone dropped into deep water. Jae set the USB drive down. You should leave Seoul tonight, he said. Take the first flight. Do not come back. I'm not leaving without answers. That is not a request. Neither is mine. For a long moment they held each other's gaze across the desk. The most feared man in Seoul, and the woman who had spent 11 days mapping his empire with a camera and a notebook and almost no instinct for self-preservation. Then Ryan's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen, then at Jae. The message in his eyes was immediate. Jae straightened. Take her to the East Room. Don't touch her. Don't speak to her. He was already moving toward the door. Wait, Aaliyah said. He stopped, but did not turn. Did you know her? She asked. My mother. Did you know who she was? Jae stood with his back to her for 3 full seconds. Then he walked out. The door shut behind him. Aaliyah stood in the center of the room and understood, with a deep and sinking certainty, that the answer to her question was yes. He had known her mother, and whatever happened 10 years ago in this city, inside this family, was now breathing again. The East Room was not a cell. That was the first thing Aaliyah noticed. No bars. No visible lock on the inside of the door. Just a clean, spare room, a low couch, a floor lamp casting warm light, a window that looked down into an interior courtyard where 2 guards moved in slow, practiced rotation below. She was not being imprisoned. She was being held. There was a difference, and she understood it immediately. Jae Baekho had not decided what to do with her yet, which meant she was still useful, which meant she was still alive. She sat on the couch and breathed slowly, the way her mother used to teach her when fear got too loud to think through. Count the seconds, Imani had once told her. Fear needs an empty mind to grow. Her mother. Aaliyah closed her eyes. She pressed her fingers flat against her knees to stop them shaking. Just for a moment. Just until the walls stopped feeling like they were moving inward. Then she opened her eyes, picked up her pen, and started writing. Imani Carter had been the most precise woman she had ever known. A journalist who underlined sources in 3 colors. Who kept every receipt, every note, every voice recording in labeled folders. A woman who believed truth was not only something you pursued, but something that could protect you, if you handled it carefully enough. She had come to Seoul 10 years ago with 3 notebooks, a camera, and a contact inside the Baekho organization who promised her documents. Then she vanished. A knock at the door pulled Aaliyah back. It opened before she could answer. A woman stepped inside. Mid-40s. Hair pulled back severely. A tablet in one hand. The expression of someone who had spent her entire career managing other people's disasters. Mr. Baekho's head of operations, she said. You can call me Sarah. She set the tablet on the table. Eat something. Food is coming. I don't need food. You've been in a car for 40 minutes. Before that, you were in a restaurant where you ordered but did not eat. You're running on adrenaline. That crashes. Aaliyah looked at her, unimpressed. What does Mr. Baekho need me for? Saya tapped the tablet. The USB drive you brought. Our team verified it in the last 20 minutes. She paused. It's legitimate. Aaliyah felt the weight of the room change. So he believes me. He believed you before verification. That answer unsettled her more than if he had dismissed her completely. The door opened again. Jae. He had changed his jacket. Something in his expression had shifted. Not anger. Something quieter. Sharper. The kind of control that suggested whatever had pulled him away had not been good news. He looked at Seoul. Seoul left without a word. Jae remained standing across from her. He did not sit. Your mother came to Seoul in the spring, he said. 10 years ago. She contacted a man named Dokgo inside my organization. He had been feeding information to foreign press for 2 years. Aaliyah kept her face still. We discovered Dokgo 3 weeks after she arrived. We removed him from the organization quietly. And my mother. The silence that followed was short, but it carried weight. She disappeared before we found her. Disappeared. Or taken. His eyes stayed on hers. We searched for 6 weeks. Every contact. Every hotel. Every border crossing. We found nothing. You searched for her. Yes. Why? Her voice came out harder than she intended. Why would you search for a journalist trying to expose your family? Jae looked at her for a long moment. Because she was not the target. That sentence landed like a blow. Then who was? He turned away and looked out the window. Your mother was friends with my mother, he said. Before Seoul. Before my father. Before all of this. Aaliyah went very still. They knew each other from university. In Atlanta. 25 years ago. Before my mother married into this family. His jaw tightened. When your mother came to Seoul, it was not only for a story. He paused. My mother asked her to come. Aaliyah felt the floor tilt beneath her. This was not a simple story anymore. This was an old secret between 2 women. One missing, one hidden, buried under lies, time, and blood. Jae had been waiting for her. Not Aaliyah the journalist. Aaliyah the daughter. Because she was the only person left who might believe him. She did not sleep that night. They gave her a proper room. A real bed. A window looking out over the Han River. Someone had left a glass of water on the nightstand and a change of clothes on the chair. Small, deliberate gestures of normalcy inside a building that was anything but normal. Aaliyah sat on the floor with her back against the bed, notebook open on her knees. She wrote everything down. Every word Jae had said. Every pause. Every look. Her mother had known his mother. Atlanta. University. 2 women who had become family because they understood what it meant to live between worlds. She could almost see it. Her mother laughing in a sunlit courtyard somewhere. A friendship strong enough to survive distance and time and decades of silence. She had never known. Her mother had carried a secret across oceans and never told her daughter the truth. Her hand stopped over the page. She sat there for a long time. Not writing. Just breathing. Then she kept going. Dawn came slowly over the river. Aaliyah was still on the floor, notebook full, when she heard the compound wake up beneath her. A knock came. Ryan. He was younger than she had first guessed. Late 30s. A scar along his jaw. The careful attention of a man trained to measure threats before they happened. Mr. Baekho wants you downstairs. Aaliyah clipped her press badge to her jacket out of habit. Ryan glanced at it. You know that means nothing, hey? I know. Then why wear it? She met his eyes. Because I know who I am, even in rooms like this. He studied her for a moment, then turned and walked. She followed him down 2 floors and into a working operations room. Screens, maps, people who did not look up when she entered. Jae stood at a long table in the center. He looked up when she entered. His eyes moved over her once, checking, assessing, then returned to the map in front of him. Come here, he said. Aaliyah crossed the room. The map was Seoul, marked in red, blue, black, and 1 green circle, drawn by hand in Seodaemun district. The USB drive contained the financial network, Jae said. Accounts, routes, shell structures, everything our internal traitor gave to Jeongpa. He pointed to the Incheon cluster, but there was a second layer embedded in the file, hidden underneath the financial data. He turned a tablet toward her. Aaliyah looked at the screen and stopped breathing. Her mother's handwriting. 3 pages of dense notes, underlined in 3 colors, scanned and hidden inside the betrayal file. A message. A time capsule buried inside someone else's crime. Her mother had given these documents to someone in the organization for safekeeping. Someone had held them for 10 years. Aaliyah's throat tightened. She knew, she whispered. Before she disappeared, she knew something was going to happen. Jae said nothing. Aaliyah scanned the notes. 17 women. Translators. Couriers. Assistants. Entertainers. Women orbiting the Baekho network who had vanished one by one, each disappearance careful enough to avoid attention. At the bottom of the list, in different ink, written later, shakier, was one final name. Park Soo-hyun. Alive. Jae watched her read it. My mother wrote this, Aaliyah said slowly. She was tracking the women. Yes. And your mother is on the list. Yes. Aaliyah looked up. She wasn't on the list because she wrote it. The silence in the room confirmed what she already knew. My mother documented everyone else and didn't document herself because she thought she still had time. She set the tablet down. How did Taesung find out about her? Ryan answered from the doorway. Go. Aaliyah turned. The false contact, Ryan said. He was reporting directly to Taesung. The room went quiet. Aaliyah felt the lie settle into place with horrible precision. Her mother had been brilliant. She had built a system, a decoy, a real contact, hidden documents. But she had not known the decoy was already working for the man she was investigating. She had walked straight into a trap. She was very close to something, Jae said. Taesung could not allow that. Aaliyah stood. The emotion was too large to keep in a chair. She walked to the window and looked out at Seoul in the gray morning light. The river is flat and distant, the city moving, as if nothing in it could ever truly be broken. Her mother had been brave, and be careful, and precise. It had not been enough. Where is she? Aaliyah asked. My mother. Where did he put her? The silence that followed was different from the others. Heavier, more dangerous. Jae crossed to the map and touched the green circle in Seodaemun. There's a private medical facility there, he said. Officially, it treats high-profile patients requiring complete discretion. No public admissions. No inspections in 9 years. No staff directory. You think she's there? I think it is the only place Taesung controls completely. He paused. I tried to get inside 3 times. The first time, the operative I sent did not return. The second time, Taesung sat across from me at a family dinner and told me a story about loyalty. He looked at the map. The third time, I went by myself. I got close enough to know I was being watched. One step farther and he would have known immediately. And whatever was inside that building would have been gone before I reached it. Aaliyah took a slow breath. I can get inside. Both men looked at her. I'm a foreign journalist with legitimate press credentials. If I walk into that facility and say I'm doing a feature on private care standards, they won't connect me to you. Taesung will know within 24 hours, Ryan said. Then we have less than 24 hours. Jae watched her for a long moment. He was stillness and calculation and threat in the same body. But Aaliyah was beginning to understand that the calm was not coldness. It was control under pressure. If Taesung realizes you're inside, he said, I cannot protect you from what happens next. I know. You'd be walking in without a way out. I've done it before, just not against a man like him. She picked up a notebook. My mother walked into this city 10 years ago to help someone she loved. She went in without a guaranteed exit. She held his gaze. I am my mother's daughter. I don't need a guaranteed exit. I need a reason to go in. She looked at the green circle. I have 17 reasons. The room held its breath. Then Jae said quietly, Ryan, get the car. But before the car reached Seodaemun, someone inside the compound made a phone call. And on the other end of it, in a quiet office in a building that appeared on no city registry, Taesung Baekho set down his tea. He looked out the window at the city he had spent 30 years learning to own. He had built everything inside these streets, the routes, the networks, the silence. He had learned, long ago, that a man does not need to be everywhere. He only needs to know when something moves that should not be moving. Something had moved. He picked up his phone and smiled. The facility in Seodaemun looked exactly like what it claimed to be. That was the most frightening part. A clean, modest building set back from a quiet residential street. Frosted glass windows. A single security camera above the entrance, angled with practiced casualness. Nothing obvious. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that invited suspicion, which meant everything important was hidden. Aaliyah stood across the street for 90 seconds before going in. She catalogued the cameras. The side entrance. The reception desk is visible behind the glass. The angle of the shadows. The clean landscaping. The polished brass nameplate. The absence of anything that made the place memorable. It was designed to be ignored. That meant it had something worth hiding. She crossed the street. The door opened before she touched it. The receptionist, a woman in her 50s with silver hair and a composed expression, smiled without warmth. "Good morning. Do you have an appointment?" "I don't." Aaliyah placed her press badge on the desk. "Aaliyah Johnson, Global Investigative Press. I'm researching private healthcare facilities for a feature on Seoul's medical infrastructure. I'd like to arrange a short introductory tour." The receptionist looked at the badge, then at her face, then back to the badge. "We don't accommodate press visits without prior arrangement." "Of course. Could I speak with your director?" "I'm happy to wait." The receptionist reached for the phone. Aaliyah watched the call, watched the shift in posture when the line connected. The conversation lasted 12 seconds. Then the receptionist hung up. "Dr. Lim will be with you shortly. Please take a seat." The waiting area was too neat. 2 chairs, 1 low table, a single orchid, no magazines, no music, the kind of silence maintained deliberately. Aaliyah sat and counted every second. 3 minutes later, the interior door opened. Dr. Lim was 60, lean, calm in the unsettling way of men who had built a career out of never appearing in a hurry. He wore no white coat, only a dark suit and the sort of watch that suggested he had no interest in ordinary men. He shook her hand. "Ms. Johnson." His English was perfect. "I understand you're researching private care facilities." "That's right. I'm particularly interested in long-term residential care for patients requiring complete privacy. Staffing models, infrastructure, ethics. It's becoming a major issue internationally." She tilted her head. "Your facility has an excellent reputation in those circles." Dr. Lim smiled. "We are selective about the attention we accept." "I understand completely. That's why even 30 minutes of your time would help." He studied her. Aaliyah had now been studied by dangerous men enough times to recognize the difference between curiosity and assessment. Ryan studied her for threat. Jae studied her for truth. Taesung's people studied her for use. What could she expose? What could she be leveraged into? What price would she pay? "Very well," Dr. Lim said. "Ground floor only. No patient areas." Of course. The ground floor was exactly what a legitimate facility would show a journalist. Consultation room. Small pharmacy window. Monitors. Clean walls. Reassuring language. Professional calm. Dr. Lim explained care philosophy, privacy standards, and patient dignity. Aaliyah listened, nodded, asked questions that bought her time. What she was really doing was counting doors. 4 on the left corridor, 2 on the right, a stairwell with keycard access, a different color panel, higher clearance, and at the far end of the right corridor, partly hidden by the angle of the wall, a plain door. No visible panel. Then she smelled it. Food. Not hospital food. Real food. Warm. Familiar. Home-cooked. Someone was eating below. Aaliyah's chest tightened. Long-term residential care. She kept her face still and asked Dr. Lim a question about staffing ratios that required a long answer. While he spoke, she memoized the corridor. Then a sound changed everything. A door opening. A shift in the air. Dr. Lim saw it too. His hand moved, almost invisibly, toward his jacket. Aaliyah followed his gaze. At the end of the corridor, the plain door opened, and a woman stepped out, older than the photograph, thinner, hair pulled back, face pale. But there was no mistaking her. Park Soo-hyun, Jae's mother. Aaliyah stopped breathing. The woman's gaze swept the hallway and landed directly on her. Recognition flashed across her face. Not of Aaliyah herself, of her mother. Her lips parted. "Imani," she whispered. Aaliyah's entire body went still. Dr. Lim stepped forward too quickly. "Ms. Carter," he said, warning beneath the politeness. But it was already too late. Park Soo-hyun had seen her. And in that instant, Aaliyah understood something that made her stomach turn. Her mother had not simply disappeared. She had been brought here because she knew too much. And Park Soo-hyun had survived because silence had been forced into her life, one day at a time. The woman took one shaky step forward. Then another. Aaliyah's voice came out barely above a whisper. "What happened to my mother?" Park Soo-hyun looked at her. Faith, guilt, regret, and something else, something that looked almost like relief. Then the emergency alarm burst through the corridor. Red lights overhead. Dr. Lim reached for Aaliyah, but the door behind her slammed open and men rushed in. Aaliyah moved on instinct, grabbed her badge, shoved it into her pocket, and ran. Behind her, Park Soo-hyun shouted something she could not hear over the alarm. Aaliyah hit the stairwell door hard, slammed through it, took the steps two at a time. Halfway up, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. One message. Do not leave Seoul. You are closer than you think. Another message came through immediately. If Jae tells you the truth, believe him. If Taesung speaks to you first, run. Aaliyah's breath caught. That was not a ghost. That was a warning from someone who knew exactly what was happening inside this building. Someone is still watching. Still fighting. Footsteps thundered below. She turned and ran. Outside, the street was still quiet. The facility hid itself behind frosted glass and polished lies. Across the road, a black car was already waiting. Ryan stepped out of the driver's side. His face changed the moment he saw her expression. "You saw her," he said. Aaliyah nodded once. Unable to speak, Ryan's jaw tightened. Then it started. What started? He looked at the building behind her. Taesung knows you're here. Aaliyah turned back toward the facility. Through the glass she could see movement. Shadows shifting. Doors opening. Men mobilized with the quiet efficiency of people who had done this before. Then her phone buzzed again. One final message. You were never meant to find me alone. Aaliyah lifted her head. Across the street, in the reflection of the glass, she saw a figure standing in the doorway. Jae. He had come. But the expression on his face was not relief. Not rescue. It was the face of a man who had just understood something enormous, something that had changed the entire shape of what came next. The truth was no longer hidden. It was loose. And now it was coming for all of them. The first thing Jae did when he reached her was not touch her. He looked at her face. The way men look at damage before they decide how much of it can be repaired. You saw her, he said quietly. Aaliyah nodded. Jae's jaw tightened. And for the first time since she had met him, she saw something close to fear in his eyes. Not for himself. For what had just been broken open. What did she say? She knew my mother's name. The silence that followed was immediate and sharp. Then he looked back at Aaliyah. What else? She tried to say something, Aaliyah whispered. Then the alarm went off. Jae exhaled once, slow and controlled. Taesung knows now. Then why are you here? He looked at her for one long second. Then, in a voice so low it almost disappeared into the noise of the street, he said, Because your mother sent me a message. Aaliyah's head snapped up. What? Jae reached into his coat and handed her a small folded paper, already creased from being opened and closed too many times. Her fingers trembled as she took it. Inside was one line. If Aaliyah finds Soo-hyun, move immediately. Taesung will not wait. Aaliyah stared at the handwriting. It was her mother's. Her throat closed. She's alive, Aaliyah whispered. Jae did not answer. That was enough to answer. Around them, Ryan was already on the phone, issuing clip commands. Men moved in the distance. The street had begun to wake into morning, but underneath the ordinary noise, something else was happening. Something organized. Something violent. Jae looked at the facility one last time. Then he turned to Aaliyah. We need to leave. No. He looked at her. I am not leaving her. You won't survive if you stay here. Aaliyah stepped closer. I came to Seoul for my mother. I found her. I am not walking away now. Jae held her gaze, and something in his expression shifted, something she had not seen before. Not power. Not control. Recognition. He understood exactly what kind of daughter he was standing in front of, and that understanding changed the way he spoke. Then listen carefully, he said. From this moment on, Taesung will assume you know what your mother knows. He will come for you first. If he cannot reach you, he will use Soo-hyun. If he cannot use Soo-hyun. He paused. He will burn the whole building and call it medicine. Aaliyah's skin went cold. Then we stop him. Jae's face stayed still. but something behind it sharpened. Not he. Not in the open. He looked toward the car. Get in. Aaliyah did not move immediately. She looked at the facility one last time. At the frosted glass. At the building where her mother had been trapped. At the woman who had whispered her mother's name like a prayer. And a wound. At the same time. Then she got in the car. The city swallowed them almost instantly. Seoul moved around them like nothing had happened. Traffic. Buses. People crossing streets with coffee cups in hand. Office workers heading toward ordinary days. No one knew that a daughter had just found the edge of her mother's disappearance. No one knew that an empire was beginning to crack. No one knew that Jae Baekho was now moving through his own city with a journalist beside him, and war closing in from both sides. Aaliyah stared out the window. Her pulses still too fast. Her mother's note still pressed inside her fist. Ryan drove in silence for several blocks before speaking. The facility is compromised. I know. They'll move, Soo-hyun. Then we follow. Jae glanced at her once. There is something else. She turned. His eyes stayed on the road, but his voice went harder. If Soo-hyun recognized you, then she has seen your mother's face before. Meaning Imani was not simply asking questions here. He paused. She was close enough to matter. Aaliyah said nothing. And if she sent me that message, then your mother is not simply missing. A chill moved through Aaliyah's body. What are you saying? Jae paused long enough for the answer to feel heavier. I'm saying Taesung may have kept her alive. The world seemed to tilt. Why? Because dead women stopped being useful. Aaliyah looked down at the note in her hand. Her mother's handwriting. Her mother's warning. Her mother, alive or dead or somewhere in between. Close enough to touch and still beyond reach. She closed her fist around the paper. In the front seat, Jae made a call. Find out everything on the Seodaemun facility. Staff rotations. Deliveries. Basement access. All of it. He listened. Then his face changed. What do you mean they are not there anymore? Aaliyah sat up. Ryan looked at him in the mirror. Repeat that. The voice on the other end spoke again. When the call ended, Jae put the phone down slowly. They are gone, he said. Aaliyah's stomach dropped. Who? Park Soo-hyun. The words hit the car like a collision, and every file tied to the facility. They moved her. Yes. Where? Jae said nothing at first. Then he looked at her, and in that look, she saw the answer before he spoke it. To Taesung. The car went silent. The city rushed past the windows, and Aaliyah understood, with a terrible, aching clarity, that the game had changed. She had not uncovered the truth. She had triggered the next move. And somewhere inside Seoul, her mother's name was about to become a weapon.